because Serie B is it's a wild league and a lot of things go on. So
It's a wild league. Well said. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of. We're gonna laugh a lot about our predictions.
guaranteed to be wrong. Let's just say,
Absolutely, 100%.
𝗖𝗵𝗺𝗀𝗃 are the only team in Veneto for this season because Vicenza failed to get promoted. Venezia went up to Serie A.
I would be happy with Carrarese and Reggiana being last and second to last. We're going to be touching upon each and every one of these teams. Welcome to the first episode of our new program, Speaking Serie B. My name is Elia. I'm one of the hosts, and together with me is 𝗖𝗵𝗺𝗶𝗃. We both live in the US, and while we support different Italian football teams, we are united by our passion for the game. Jake, take it away. Please introduce yourself.
Well, hello everyone. Well, thank you, Elia, for organizing this. Also, I'm Jake. I am the founder and current admin of the 𝗖𝗵𝗺𝗃𝗀𝗃 USA. We do podcasts, articles, everything about AS Cittadella in English. So that is on the website. We do pre-match articles, news articles, all that stuff about Cittadella, and obviously on social media we do graphic design and live tweets, everything that you imagine from a news company, basically about Cittadella in English. So that's kind of me. And once again, thank you, Elia, for organizing this because I really appreciate it.
Of course, it's a pleasure. I had the possibility, the honor to be part of your show in the past, and then we like the way we approach what we're doing. So I thought it was like the natural course of things to potentially start something together. So thank you for being here and hosting this new program together is great. So thank you, Jake.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm sure it'll even get better as time goes on, and we'll.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the ambition, to get better after each episode, of course, even through the feedback of who is going to watch this content. So I'm glad you mentioned all the activities, all the things that you do. It's a good thing to point out where we can find each other content so that whoever is interested in the content that we create knows where we are and how they can follow the content that we create. So tell us where we can find your content, and then I'll do the same.
Yeah, so you could obviously the main website is cittacalciousashow.com. There you could find the pre-match, post-match articles, the news articles, all the articles and all the news writing. It's there at cittacalciousUSA. And on Instagram, Twitter, you could find us at cittacalcioUSA. There you could find the graphics, the live tweets, everything that's up to date revolving Cittadella. You could find me there. So that's my socials. So please give us a follow if you can.
Nice. As far as I'm concerned, my main platform is YouTube. The YouTube channel is simply Elia, the Italian guy. We not only talk about soccer or football, however you want to call it, European football. We talk about other subjects as well. And we have a presence even on Instagram as Elia, the Italian guy, but also as Speziato, which is the channel where we solely the profile through which we solely talk about soccer, and we are on TikTok as well. So thank you for being here with us today. As we briefly mentioned, we decided to start this program combining our efforts based on the passion that unites us around the sport, around this football, around soccer. Although we live in the US, I am originally from Italy. I know Jake has roots in Italy. But yeah, although our teams are not even playing in the major league, we strongly believe that Serie B is one of the most fascinating championships in Europe. And it was even last season that proved to be the fact, with all the teams coming, very close to each other as far as points. We saw at the very last round of last season, Venezia, who was the third team to then be promoted in Serie A, losing with Spezia in La Spezia when Spezia was fighting to avoid relegation. Like in Serie A, there are the major league teams that are never or very rarely going to lose with the teams at the bottom of the table. But in Serie B, this can happen. So maybe let's touch
Mhm.
upon this a little bit, Jake. What brought you to be so interested about Serie B before we start talking about the upcoming season?
Yeah, well, it's if you followed me for a while, I've explained this many times, but it's really it's a long story. But best thing I could put it as is, I've always loved Italian calcio. I've followed it for many years now, and I've always liked Serie A. I like all the big leagues. I still watch it and stuff, but Serie B is something that I found really interesting. It was just, kind of unique, it's maybe the actual football quality, maybe it's not as good as Serie A or the Premier League and stuff, but
Quality
hone
wise.
yeah, but honestly, for me, that didn't really matter. What really mattered was, the fan base, the culture, regardless of, where the stadium is or what day of the time, the ultras are always gonna be there, singing with the flags and stuff. And, when I saw Cittadella, I knew it was a tiny town. It was a small reality in Italian football, and, staying in Serie B for now the ninth straight season, I thought, it's a very interesting, cool little story, and, they're on the brink of Serie A for, the last few years, and, it really inspired me just to, start following the team, and then ultimately during the pandemic, I started Cittacalcio USA just as a, something to do because, obviously there was not much things to do during when we were all at home, staying at
Right.
home lockdown, so I started it, I didn't know how long it was gonna be. Uh, I had no idea, like, how long it would last or, how consistent I would be, but, I just kept with it. It was fun. I really enjoyed
Yeah,
getting
it's
it.
a way to channel our passion, of course.
Exactly, yeah, and, as time went on, I started getting more followers, and ultimately, in 2021, I started cittacalciousausa.com, which I began writing, about Cittadella, and more recently, in March, I went to Cittadella for the first time, and I
Right,
was,
right,
uh, hosted by the Società, the club, and,
right, right.
they were on.
They wrote an article about your presence and all. I
Yeah,
remember.
the local media,
Congratulations.
yeah, the 𝗣𝗿𝗀𝗌𝗍, uh, what was it? 𝐒𝐞𝐫𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, they all did amazing stuff. Martino Di Padova also wrote something, and also
Nice.
the club was able to give me like some access, so I was able to see Guarini's post match conference, and I was able to be on the field. I was able to meet
That's great.
the president, President Gabrielli,
Right,
which was just unbelievable, and it's they were just so hospitable to me, and I keep saying thank you, but I don't think it's thank yous. I could say many thank yous, and it's just I feel like it's not enough to express my gratefulness to
right.
the
You
club.
realized
But
the dream, I assume.
yeah, yeah, and unfortunately, I came probably at the worst point in the season where they lost. That was their eighth straight loss in a row, and it
Hmm.
was not a great. The fans were pretty tense, and it was not a great atmosphere, let's say. But regardless, it didn't really matter to me because I was able
Of
there
course.
to experience the town, to meet the people, the fans, because everyone there was just so nice, and I really, ever since I left, I've been just waiting for the next time I could come back,
Of course.
which, hopefully is in the near future.
Right, right, right. Awesome. So people will have the time, the possibility over time to understand better who we are, what brought us to do what we're doing. But let's give them a brief intro about what are the intentions with this program of ours, because we are two fans. None of us is a journalist. Of course, you are supporting Cittadella. I'm supporting Spezia Calcio. But the goal with this new program, basically, Speaking Serie B, is to give share our thoughts, give our opinion round by round after each round about the whole league. Of course, we can be that objective being fans, but the goal is just to create some English content that covers the whole league together. So I don't know if you want to add something about this intention of ours. And
No,
yeah.
no, it's just it's really good, and I could thank you once again for coming up with this idea. It was really, really clever, and after last season, it was. I'm really glad Spezia say were saved and was able to stay in Serie B, because if you did go down to Serie C, I don't think this would have been possible. So thank you,
Yeah, no,
Elia,
absolutely.
for getting it together in the Gironi di Ritorno, and saving yourself. But no, I think this is really good. We're gonna try, if I understand, we're gonna try to do this pretty much after every match day, kind of recapping not
Yeah,
only Spezia stuff, but also and Cittadella, but also wrapping up the league and seeing the big moments, any surprises, because Serie B is it's a wild league and a lot of things go on. So
it's a wild league. Well said. Exactly. Yes, this is the cover of our program, basically. It's appearing now. And you can see that we're going to be touching upon each and every one of these teams during the season. Maybe we might have the possibility to have some English speaking guests as we go along. Again, the ideas are a lot, but let's see how it works out as we go. As you say, we will improve, we'll get better, but if we don't start, we can never improve. So here we are. This is the first episode, let's say, of this new program. And the day before yesterday, I don't know exactly when we're going to be publishing this first episode, but we're recording this conversation today, Friday 12th, July 12th. And on the 11th or the 10th, yesterday, right? Because then
the
I'm
10th,
being in the
yeah,
US.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, thank you very much. So on Wednesday in La Spezia, there have been the creation. How would you say it in
The
the right?
calendar, the fixture list, like the calendar presentation.
Okay, so let's see
The
if I can
sorteggio,
put that in the
sorteggio, yeah.
sorteggio. In sorteggio in Italian, I can say it right.
Yeah, we'll be
Sorteggio of
sprinkling
what
some
are going
Italian
to
words in
be
there, because it's sometimes easier for both of us, because
right. It's more
we're
authentic.
exposed
That too.
to so much media, yeah.
So let's see if I can show it so that we can comment together a few of these rounds. We were not going to comment the 38 rounds, but at least what is going to be the beginning of the upcoming season. So it should be this one, tac, and it should appear. Let's put it in between the two of us, right here. Okay, perfect. So let me open it here. We will start August 17th and Südtirol Modena. Of course, we don't know which one is going to be actually the opening game, because we're not going to be playing. Unfortunately, they don't play all on Sunday, but most of the games are played on Saturday, and there will
I
be
will
some
add
games on Friday as well.
I will
Say
add
it again.
my early prediction, just for that. They usually play like on a Friday, just like the opening game. I think it's going to be Frosinone versus Sampdoria, just because those are two relatively big clubs, and that's
Right,
kind
good
of like the
point.
marquee match. So that's my prediction for who's going to be playing first.
Yeah, yesterday I was listening to a friend of mine who's a journalist with whom I had the possibility to record one of the chat pre-match last season for Brescia, and he was saying that potentially it could also be Brescia-Palermo, but we don't know. All we know is that this is the first round, and that is Südtirol Modena, Salernitana Cittadella. So you're opening the season playing abroad with a team coming from the major league. So let me read them all, and then we briefly touch upon what your thoughts are. I hope you can see them, that they're big enough in your screen. Let
Oh
me
yeah,
see if
and I
I
I
can.
have the schedule right below me too.
Okay, perfect. Catanzaro Sassuolo, Pisa Spezia. That's a big game for us as well, for the Ultras world, to start with this derby. Cesena Carrarese, Brescia Palermo, Reggiana Mantova, Frosinone Sampdoria, as you mentioned, Bari Juve Stabia, Cosenza Cremonese. So what are your thoughts about Cittadella starting this championship, going to play in Salerno with Salernitana, which is one of those teams that got relegated from the major league?
Well, it's a Granata derby. It's Granata versus Granata, and well, we all knew that Cittadella were going to start on the road, and also for the next match against Brescia, just because of the current renovations at the Tombolato. The club requested that they would play the first two matches at least away from home, just to give a little more time for the stadium renovation. So it was expected, but no, I think it- like you said, you saw it with Spezia last year. You saw it with Crotone the other year, and even Benevento the prior year. Um, the teams coming down from Serie A, it doesn't necessarily always mean that they'll go right back up, or it'll be a cakewalk in
Indeed.
Serie B next year. So, I heard, Salernitana. I remember in June they hired their manager and then they fired him like a few days after. And
Mhm.
then I forgot who they rehired, but anyway, that's just gives you an idea. Like I don't think it's going to be straightforward for Salernitana, and I think it's also a good opportunity for Cittadella to get something on the road. Definitely, it's a big away trip for the traveling Cittadella fans for the first match.
Uh,
They also the week prior they have Sassuolo in the Coppa Italia, and you know I think it'll be a good test testing match. I don't think you could take a lot away from the first two matches of the season, but uh, I think it'll be a good test. And there's also so many questions that I have for the team and Guarini for the opening. I'm just really curious how they're going to open up and how they're going to play with all these new signings. So I think it's definitely it could have been definitely a lot worse because I remember last season we had it was Reggiana, Parma, Bari, Venezia to start the season. So it's still a difficult start, but it could be a lot worse. I'm just gonna say.
Great memory, great memory. I don't remember exactly. I think we started with su Tirol last season, and then we went to Catanzaro also because last season we had the issue with teams that we didn't know until the last minute if they would have been part of.
Mhm,
But anyhow, this is in the past, so let's focus about the present and the future. It's difficult to do predictions this time of the year because, as you mentioned, there are a lot of movements as far as the markets with players and all. We'll do our best to share what our thoughts are currently. And yeah, but the thing is that even if we were to wait further to share what our thoughts are for the upcoming season, the market will still be open during the first rounds. So we
mhm.
would have to do our prediction once that the championship already started. So we might as well share our thoughts now as we go, I think. And it's just anyway the opinion of a fan, so it counts for what it counts. It's just fun to see then in the future afterwards how the predictions worked out. Well, as far as Spezia goes, we'll start. Let me put it back up. We'll start with Pisa in Pisa for a very similar reason to Cittadella. Even Spezia Calcio is making improvement on Curva Ferrovia, which is where the biggest of the two curves that we have in La Spezia at the Alberto Picco. They are finally putting up the cover to
The roof.
um, the curva. So they asked to play the first few games abroad, but we're playing the second game in La Spezia. And I know that at a certain point during the season, I can't tell exactly during which games, but all the supporters that are going to have a season ticket in Curva Ferrovia will have to be repositioned in Tribuna, in Distinti, and in the other curve, reducing the amount of supporters from the away team, from the teams that are coming to La Spezia, because the cover cannot be built on the curva. It will have to be built outside the stadium and it will have to be placed upon the curva. So during those moments, during that period, Curva Ferrovia will not be open
Hmm,
for the supporters. But it
interesting.
was interesting to find out that three of the most felt uh, games will be played between August and the 8th of October, because Spezia will go to play in Pisa with Pisa at the opening game. And then at the sixth round, Spezia will host the game with Carrarese in the weekend of the 21st of September. That's a very unique game with Carrarese coming up from Lega Pro Serie C. And then on the eighth round, there will be Spezia Reggiana, another very felt game. Does it make sense to say a felt game, partita sentita?
Yeah, like an important match. It
Okay.
it means a lot for the fans, I'd say.
Okay. And then during at the 17th round, there will be Sampdoria Spezia, but we're talking already about games that are going to take place, in December. So that's far away from today. What are the most important games for Cittadella as far as fan base? Do you have particular rivalry that you
Yeah,
know?
well, we are actually Cittadella are the only team in Veneto for this season because Vicenza failed to get promoted. Venezia went up to Serie A, and
Right.
Cittadella's main rivals is Padova, which is still in Serie C for
Right.
a few years. So currently, there's no real rivalries. I'd say the closest team geographically is Mantova, which is in Lombardia, which
Mhm.
we actually Cittadella do play on Saturday, September 21st in Mantova. I it's hard to say because there's not really like I wouldn't say like a true like rivalry, but
Mhm.
the game against Frosinone, which is let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, match day 7, a game against Frosinone. Cittadella and Frosinone in the past have had, some competitive games. I'm thinking about, 2018 where Luigi Nasca was the referee and he did not call a penalty, which was a clear penalty in the semifinals, which would have progressed Cittadella into the final. Um, there was also the game in COVID era where it was a playoff. Cittadella were 2-0 up at the Tombolato, and Frosinone came back to win 3-2 off a last-minute volley from Camilo Ciano. So I guess you could say Frosinone is somewhat of a rivalry, even though it really isn't, being
Got
honest.
it.
I'm really looking forward to the game against Sampdoria, which is just a few or maybe it's like a month away from that Frosinone match. It's at the Tombolato. If you remember last game, that was a game where it really started to collapse for Cittadella because they were winning 1-0, and then Sampdoria out of nowhere came back to win 2-1. That was a special game for Cittadella because they were wearing their special blue uniforms in commemorate of the anniversary of the club, just kind of a throwback to that. So it's kind of like a sort of revenge match for I guess
I
Cittadella,
see.
and that game I've talked about it many times in the past. I believe that game was kind of like the start of the downfall because after that, Cittadella did not win a game for so many games they went on that losing streak.
Right.
But you know, I really don't know what other games, like, I'm really, like, eyeing it. The last there's 2 difficult games or 3 really difficult games to end the year. It was, Cittadella Brescia, Frosinone, Cittadella, and then Cittadella final match day hosting Bari at the Tombolato, and that could really go either way, and then obviously Frosinone, um, I think we'll talk about it. I think they're gonna be a candidate to go up to Serie A. So it's going to be interesting to see that position. But it's like we said in Serie B, every game is a wild card. Anything could happen. So I'm really looking forward to
Indeed, indeed. It's difficult to pin or to point out which are going to be the difficult games because it depends on how the season evolves. As you said, it's not always the case, and Spezia proved the point even last season and before Spezia. Other teams like Spal that got the double relegation in a row. It's difficult to predict who is going to do well because there is a readjusting period after the relegation from the major league. So it is a fascinating championship indeed. So we can start if you want to share our prediction, just to have
Yeah.
to continue on with this chat.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I told you, and like we said, the market is still it's so early to tell. I don't really have like an exact prediction of
Yeah,
like
me
who
neither, of course.
is
Yeah,
going to
it's just
be exactly relegated on what place. I'm gonna probably do those predictions when the season comes closer. But
yeah.
already
We'll
I think
update them in the next episodes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, possibly, but already, I think it's a popular vote to who gets relegated. I think Carrarese, just coming from Serie C, after so many years, kind of similar to Lecco last year, where in
Hmm.
Serie B for the first time and through the playoffs, through a long crucial playoffs, and I just don't know how they're gonna do. And I don't know many of their players, their coach. I think I think that's a safe option. Let's say for
Hmm.
relegation because there's not many expectations on
Let's
Carrera
do this,
to stay up.
Jake. Sorry if I interrupt you. For sake of potentially, we're going to do at the end of the season a video where we're going to reflect upon the predictions that we're about to make. So I'm going to start with the position, like 20th place, and you tell me which team you think is going to be on the 20th place, and then I share my opinion about who's going to end there. And then we'll go 19th, 18th until the top ones. And you'll start with the 20th. You mentioned Carrarese, and then I'm going to be saying the 19th, and then we'll exchange you the 18th and me the 17th. Okay, so that is not always on you to start with the prediction. All right.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this is definitely this is definitely gonna change. I'm definitely gonna go back and maybe
Sure.
before the season. But
Sure.
out of first glance, yeah, I'll say
I've never
Carrera.
done this before, so I'm just, I had the time yesterday preparing for this recording to put down a table with sharing a few thoughts about why I'm placing the teams that I'm placing in that position, but I have absolutely no idea. I'm just sharing my sensations. I have nothing to base these speculations upon other than, what my current thoughts are. So if you want to start, what is the team that is going to end in the 20th position this upcoming season in Serie B?
I'll say Carrerese because I already gave my reason, so I'll just put Carrerese.
All right, perfect. Yeah, no, I agree. I put Carrarese as well. They came up, I said by mistake because they didn't even get promoted directly, but they went through the lottery of a very difficult playoffs, and they've been missing from Serie B for 76 years. So uh, I think that they have a lot going for them as far as enthusiasm, and they probably don't have many expectations, which is what could make the team dangerous. But yeah, if I have to pick one team that's going to end last this upcoming season, also because of the rivalry between Spezia and Carrarese, I have to say Carrarese. Then, of course, we'll see. I'm going to start with the 19th, and then we'll move on that way. So I noticed, doing some homework in preparation for today's recording, that Mantova, which is the team that I think is going to end in the 19th place, finished Lega Pro last season with 80 points, which is only 3 points more than Padova. And they accumulated these 80 points with 24 wins, 8 draws, and 6 losses. So, yes, they got promoted directly, but they didn't win by a lot of margin like Catanzaro did the season before. So uh, I don't know. I don't even know who are the players or how they're moving on the market. So I would say 19th place, Mantova.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is important because Mantova did win Serie C a few games before, so I don't know how serious they took those last few games, which probably closed the gap
Good
a
point.
little bit than it actually was. But that's a good pick. One thing that I noticed, like in recent years, is that the Serie C winners, the group winners that win their group, that advance that are promoted directly, they usually don't have many problems. I mean, you saw it with Ferel Pisalo last season, but I just I think Mantova will do okay. And for this, I'm just out of random and just kind of thinking about their situation. I'm just gonna put Reggiana in 19th.
All
Just
right.
hey.
I would be happy with Carrarese and Reggiana being last and second to last as far as
well,
rivalry with Spezia fans. So
well,
I'm okay. I would take that.
Nesta left. They hired Vialli from Cosenza. I Yes, yes, they did. Um, and anything. Did everyone really expect Bardi to finish 17th last year?
I didn't see
No,
that
it's
coming.
no.
Absolutely.
So this is the reason, like, and I'm saying 19th, and maybe it's 19th by like 3 points from safety. So it's really like one loss could really determine whether it's so that's kind of,
Absolutely.
just a wild pick, 19th Reggiana.
All right. How about 18th place? You start.
Okay, let's see. 18th. I'm I'm gonna go another bold pick. I'm gonna put Catanzaro, 18th.
Oh, they made
Well,
the playoff this season. So yeah,
yes,
please share your thoughts
but
about it.
Catanzaro is obviously they overperformed last season, but
Indeed.
they did
Mhm.
lose their coach, Vincenzo Vivarini, who went to Frosinone or is gonna sign for Frosinone. So I think that's a big loss. They sold 2 players to Cremonese. It's Van de Putti, and
Mhm.
the other one was Fulignati, their goalkeeper. So I think they're going to be losing a lot of important players, and especially their coach, who, kind of made that miracle last season happen. And you know, just like I said, weird things happen in Serie B. I think it's going to be a surprise. Catanzaro 18th.
Got it. As far as I'm concerned, at the 18th place, I put Juve Stabia simply because I am ignorant. I know nothing about the team. And this is one of the reasons why last season we started a new program on the channel, Elia the Italian Guy, that we titled Spazio al Prossimo. And the goal of Spazio al Prossimo is exactly that, to find out, to learn about other team's reality. So, in light of my lack of knowledge, we started this program, and I need this program to find out more about teams like Juve Stabia. So, as far as I am concerned, I place Juve Stabia 18th just because it's one of the new teams coming up from Lega Pro, and I thought that yeah, they're not gonna have many opportunities to avoid relegation. But as you said, maybe they're going to end up at the bottom of the table just from a handful of points because we saw how difficult Serie B is. We see it every season. So moving up to 17th place, I say Südtirol. I think that too many teams are better equipped. Although I heard that there is a player coming even from Inter lately, but I don't even know if it's certain yet. So I think they will get relegated through the play out. So we'll play until the end, but I think Südtirol fairy tale in Serie B is coming to an end. Last season they changed the coach, and I really liked the coach that they had, the bald guy. What was his name?
Bisoli.
Bisoli. I really like Bisoli because he's the kind of guy that is very. It doesn't. It was a very defensive team. Sutirol was a
Oh
very
yeah.
defensive team 2 seasons ago, but at least he was there. Concrete football. They very very realistic. And after he left, I don't have much confidence that Sutirol is going to be able to maintain the league this season. So 17th place, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, 17th place. I think, well, I'm going to give both my play out predictions. So 17th and 16th.
Sure.
17th, I'll say Juve Stabia, kind of like
Okay.
what you say. Once again, I did poorly research the team, so I can't really say much. But obviously they won their group, so I think they will have
Right.
like a little bit of fight, but maybe sucked in there. Then 16th, Cosenza, because Cosenza have yes, they did have a better season last year. They do have Tutino who re-signed for them, so that'll be a
Right.
big help. I just I don't know because I still think they will survive, and Cosenza has in the last few years have had this reputation of going to the final day, and then they're going to be scoring a 97th minute winner to stay in Serie B. So I still think Cosenza will be in the league, but Juve Stabia will get relegated.
Got it. I agree that we're going to have playouts even this season, but at the 16th place, I said I positioned Salernitana. The only reason is that I am afraid that they're going to be facing a similar championship that Spezia faced last season, although for different reasons. Meaning, Spezia had a lot of trouble because a lot of the players weren't that got relegated from the major league didn't want to play in the Serie B. Salernitana, as far as I know, is going through refounding, basically. A lot of players going, a lot of new players coming, but Serie B is a difficult championship. It takes some time to adapt, and I'm not certain that they're going to be able to perform as they would like for the ambition of the fans from the get-go. So I think it's going to be a very difficult season for Salernitana, and they will be able to maintain the league, but they're going to struggle until the end. Although being, a Spezia fan, I have a very good relationship with Salernitana, so I wish them well. But if I have to share my thoughts, that's how I see it now. And as far as 15th place, I place Cesena, simply because I think they're going to be the surprise of the season. I think there is always a surprise to the season. Last season, I thought there was Catanzaro, and I got it right simply because they did in Lega Pro when they came back to Serie B. That was the season of the record. So it's not the case for Cesena, but I think that among the teams that are going to be able to avoid relegation coming up from Lega Pro, there will be Cesena. That's just the way I see it, and we'll find out. How about you? Who do you place in 15th place?
15th. All right. So I'm going to say 15th and 14th because I don't think there will be really any big separation to them.
Sure.
Um, 15th. I'm gonna take your kind of advice, and I'll say Salernitana too, but they one place above where you put like you said I know that about their coaching situation where they hired and then they fired the coach
Hmm.
a few days just within a few days. But you're right. I think there's gonna be one team that will be kind of struggling, kind of like how Spezia did last year and the year before with Benevento, Spal, and Brescia even, or Brescia was in the year before. Whatever, you
Right.
get the point. Um,
Hmm.
I think Salernitana will be that team because they did have a really brutal campaign last year with only 2 wins in Serie A,
Right.
finishing dead last. I think one of the worst statistical teams in Serie A. So I just don't know how good the team will be, and therefore they'll struggle. But I think they'll have enough to stay over the line. 14th, uh, I'll say Modena because with Bisoli, they have Bisoli now, unless they changed it. And yeah, they still have Bisoli, if I'm mistaken. You know, Bisoli is a coach who, like you said, plays defensive football. It's Route One. It's a lot of defending, but they do, like you said, with what was it, Sutiro, that uh they get their stuff together. They'll have their act together, and they'll win a few games. They'll lose a lot, but it'll be relatively comfortable for them, and just sliding into 14th for them.
Got it. So as far as I'm concerned, at the 14th place, I put Catanzaro because even in that case, I agree with the fact that Catanzaro fairy tale is now becoming reality. It's coming to an end. They'll maintain the category or the league. How do you say the category or the league? What is the
The
better
league,
word?
yeah, the league, the
Okay,
division.
they maintain the division. Thank you. But without Coach Vivarini, it's the end of an era. As you said, they're losing a few key players as well. So they're starting a new cycle, and it will take time to reconsolidate among the protagonists of Serie B, I think. So last season has been a dream, but I think this season they will avoid relegation, but they're not going to be among the protagonists as far as I'm concerned. One more word about Cesena, which I placed at the 15th place. There are voices about Antonucci potentially going to Cesena or going back to Cosenza. Should Antonucci go back? Should Antonucci end up in Cesena? I don't think it would be able to make the difference for the team. He's a player that is, of course, very talented. But even in Cosenza last season, when he went on the how do you say it, on a loan from Spezia to Cosenza,
Mhm.
it didn't make that big of a difference. So I don't think he's going to be able to be the player that can carry a team on his shoulder. That's all I'm saying. So should he go to Cesena, I still foresee Cesena doing better than the promoted teams from Lega Pro. But should they be able to maintain the league without going through the playouts, it would be already a success as far as I am concerned, I think. Who do you place in 13th place?
Okay, so like I said before, I'm just going to be doing like kind of two at a time for kind of the mid
Sure.
table, because
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be separated by that much of a
Right.
difference.
Absolutely. I agree.
13th, I have Mantova, and 12th, Cittadella. So I put my own team in 12th place, but Mantova, like I said, I'm confident with newly promoted teams for that get automatic promotion. I think they'll have like a little bit of a slow start, but I'm confident about them, and maybe I'm putting them too high in the table, but I think they'll be organized. They'll have some down moments, but I think they'll slide into 12th.
All
And
right.
sorry, 13th, 13th. 12th place Cittadella. Now, I could talk about this all day if I wanted to, but
Please.
you know, I I still don't know if this team is ready to get that next level. Obviously, they showed a lot of improvement in the Gironi di Andata last round, and they sunk like a sinking ship in the next round in the Gironi di Ritorno. Um, I I still think this team is good enough to survive the drop, which is always the objective for this team. I
Begin.
think
Yeah.
Guarini has learned enough to not get into that situation last year. 12th is statistically a better year than where they finished last season. So I'm confident, but I don't think it's good enough for playoffs. So I'm going to say 12th for Cittadella.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, I still have to say the 13th place, right? We do two at a time. 13th, I placed Bari. I think that uh, in light of the fact that they really struggled a lot at the end of the season, they're just not yet there. They're not there yet. I mean, I think that this upcoming season they're still suffering of the delusion that they had last season. So the playoff ambitions are going to be uh, too much for them. So then we'll see, of course, how it evolves. And I'm sorry to say these things because as a Spezia fan, we have a very good relationship with Bari fans as well. But in light of how it ended for them last season, avoiding relegation only through the playoffs, I think that the 13th place is realistic as of today, not knowing who the new players are going to be as well. And at the 12th place, I place Modena. They dropped like a rock in the last games of the previous season, and I think there are several teams which are starting from a better base. They're gonna have better beginning to the championship compared to Modena, and I don't know what their ambitions are going to be for the season. They were one of the teams that I think tried to reach at least the playoffs, but they might end up missing it and reaching around these plays. I say 12th place just for a handful of points. So that is my opinion right now.
Hmm.
So we move on to 11th and 10th.
11th and 10th. All right. So 11th, I have Suchiro again. A good team, and saying that they'll have their stuff together, organized team, and they'll finish comfortably mid-table. Not much to say other than, it's
Yeah,
kinda similar to Cittadella, Mantova, Modena, kind of all mid-table. But also for 10th, I have Pisa now. I know they have, Inzaghi as their new head coach. They moved on.
right.
Um, I don't know if they're ready yet for the top the playoffs, but I think they'll kind of be in and out of that playoffs, but ultimately end short in 10th place.
Got it. So as far as I'm concerned, 11th and 10th, I place Cosenza because they finished really strong last season. They resigned to Tino, as you mentioned, but as far as I know, he wants to leave. Like he is a procuratore, I don't know, his agent said that he wants to move him to Serie A, that his time in Cosenza is over. I don't know. So we'll see if he remains or not, but I think they will have ambitions of playoff this season. But realistically, the goal will be to comfortably reach salvation, avoid relegation, and then in the second half of the season, based on how is going to go, they might want to shoot to reach the playoffs. But realistically, I want to place them around 11th place. So 11th place Cosenza. And I place Cittadella in 10th position. Although I believe that the strategy is very similar to Cosenza, as you said, the main goal is to avoid relegation as soon as possible. But once that the team reaches uh, avoids the relegation, then he has the possibility to shoot for something more ambitious. We saw last year that you had a very strong first half of the season, comfortably remaining in the playoffs spots, and then you had the worst negative streak of results consecutively. But again, the coach is the same, right?
Gorini, yes. He's the
So
longest
you have a
serving coach
strong
now in Serie B.
right. Say that again. Sorry.
The longest serving coach in Serie B after Viverini left, Catanzaro. Well, he was always it, but now Gorini is served for much longer than any of the other coaches in Serie B.
Right. So you see, very strong base. I wish you guys the best. And yeah, potentially 10th place, missing the playoffs for just a handful of points. So let's move
That's
on to
fair.
ninth and eighth.
That's fair. I think like a lot of people just even though Cittadella might not have like the most lucrative signings or stuff, but they have a really strong base. And maybe I'm saying this because I'm biased, but with
Right.
Branca, Vita, Castrati, Frare, all those guys have been playing for Cittadella for many years, so they know the club. Guarini knows it's going to be his fourth season, so he has the the club really trusts him, and they have this really strong base. And so I think that really is important because if you with other clubs in Serie B, they always change coaches, which may not be very
Right.
stable. But
I was
Cittadella has
afraid
proven.
last season, after all those negative results, they would have sent him away.
Yeah,
Instead, you told
well,
me, no, he's not going anywhere. Don't worry, he's not going anywhere. And you were right.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's, and maybe that's good or maybe that's bad because, in other if that was any other club other than Cittadella, Guarini would have been sacked after that 8th straight
Right.
loss. But, the club really sticks with him. The only way I see him getting sacked or resigning is if Cittadella do end up getting relegated,
Right.
which they even though they finished 14th, it was really unlikely that they were gonna be because they were in that position for so long. So it
Right.
ended
Right.
up
Right.
being okay.
Only like 2 points more than Spezia because you ended up 14th. We were 15th. 46 points for Cittadella and 44 points for Spezia. So,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, but if you remember that they were well above that, relegation
You
line
were
for
second, if
majority.
I'm not mistaken, at a certain point.
Well, 3rd for
Okay,
a short time, for like a day
got
after
got
Palermo, after the victory against Palermo.
But that's the beauty of Serie B, seriously, unbelievable. Anyhow, let's move on to ninth and eighth place. What are your predictions?
So ninth,
Yeah.
I have Bari, and eighth, the first playoff spot, I have Brescia. Now, Bari, I think will be much improved from last season. I think that was just a, wacky, crazy, really surprising season from Bari. But I think they'll do better. I think they'll just miss the playoffs, probably by like a point or two. Maybe it'll come down to the final day, but I think. I don't know why they fired Mignani last year because I think that they were building a good project. But now that they kind of have like this chance to reset, make sure that relegation threat doesn't happen again, and kind of restart from there. But Brescia, I think eighth place, so same place as they finished last year. They're a typical Serie B team. They have the most appearances in Serie B out of all the teams. They kind of surprised me because I thought they were gonna struggle, but they ended up doing very well. And, I think they'll do enough just to get that last playoff spot, but I don't think they'll have enough to go even higher.
Right. Yeah, so at the ninth place, this is where we disagree the most. Basically, I placed Reggiana because you put it like in the relegation
19th.
spots, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they finished 11th last season, but I think they'll be more fierce, if is the right word. More decisive, more grintosi. I don't know this year. I say this because I think that they gained a lot of confidence, a lot of momentum in the last part of the season last season, so they might be more ambitious. Then I might just give them too much credit because of the rivalry between the Spezia fans and Reggiana's fans, but that's why ninth place, and we'll see what happens. I agree with you about the eighth place. I place Brescia there as well. I see them reaching the playoffs this season as well. But again, just a handful of points more than the previous three teams, which could be Reggiana, Cittadella, and Cosenza. So they're not going to get promoted, even if they're reaching the playoffs. I agree, but I think they're going to do a good championship. Even these, they're going to be consolidated on the experience that they had last season. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Seventh and sixth place.
All right, let's see. Seventh place, I have Cesena, which is probably we very much disagree with that. But seventh, Cesena, they did very well last season. I've already said, I have a lot of faith in these newly promoted directly teams.
Mhm.
Cesena it's a team. It's I think really that belongs in the higher leagues. So like at least
Hmm.
Serie B. They've had a good story about coming up. Um, you know, they have a great fan base, great stadium. I think that'll help them a lot.
Yeah,
And
we know something about it because Spezia went to play all the
yeah.
game in Cesena when Alberto Pico wasn't ready. So sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no, 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 yeah. But I think they'll kinda be like a Catanzaro of last year, a good,
Mhm.
foundation. They have Mignani as coach, which I rate a lot, and I think he's a good coach when he's given good players, and I think this team will really mesh together well. So, I don't think they'll be promoted, but 7th place from a newly promoted team, I think
Wow.
that's a really good season. So,
Oh yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
7th, Cesena.
All right. Do you want to give us the sixth as well?
Oh, yes, yes. 6, I have Spezia, so,
All right.
I'm sure that'll enjoy you, but, kind of similar to Bari last season, I think they'll be much improved with, D'Angelo as a first full year as a head coach, with the market that they're gonna be bringing. With the new renovations to the Pico, I think that's an underrated fact of many teams of having a good stadium and having a good loud fan base, with a good curva, I think makes a big difference. And
We
with
believe
that
it
being
made
said,
all the difference in the last game of the season in Alberto Pico with
yes.
Venezia. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, exactly that. And so, with Spezia, kind of like a reset and kind of a wake up call after last season, because I know you said like a lot of these players did not want to stay in Spezia. They did not
Mhm.
want, they thought it was going to be easy. And now that they have that kind of experience of, 1 year, full year in Serie B, I think they'll be much improved. They'll probably be the most improved team of last season. So 6th for Spezia.
All right. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. So going back to the seventh place, so we do agree with Cesena being the surprise from among the teams coming up from Lega Pro. Just I didn't give them as much credit as you did. So we'll see. Absolutely. Yeah. So seventh place, I place Frosinone. I think that yes, they are one of the relegated team from Serie A, but they'll do well. But I don't see them being among the favorites for a certain promotion right away. You know, there is one of those teams, a lot of youngsters, a lot of players on loans, so they are used to coming back down and coming back up. But I don't think they're going to be able to come back to Serie A immediately. Sixth place, Pisa. I have a strong feeling, probably because these are all the close rivalry with Spezia, but they did a good championship last season. The season before that, they missed the playoff only for a handful of points, if I'm not mistaken, under the guide of Luca D'Angelo. So in light of the last season, in light of the fact that they have Pippo Inzaghi, that tells me that the ownership, you know, it's serious about their plans for the future. I think the ownership is still like Italian, but they have a strong partnership of Americans. So they have the funds. They are going to do what they can to reach at least the playoffs and play their cards to reach Serie A. Do you want me to give you my fifth and fourth so that you don't always start, or do we want to go back to you just to change it up a bit?
Okay, yeah, give me the fifth and fourth.
Okay, perfect. So as far as fifth place, Spezia, because I think that, as you mentioned, last season was simply a mistake. So we are awakening from this nightmare, and we will be able to do a comfortable championship with the goal to reach the playoffs. And we might end up even fifth, but just for a handful of points, you know, fighting for the last positions at the end of the season. But yes, I think that should we reach the playoffs, this is just not going to be the year for us to reach the major leagues. So under D'Angelo, we have the certainty to continue on a good base from the second half of the season, from last season. And yeah, I hope that we'll end up in the fifth place. Fourth place, I placed Sassuolo. I have my doubts, but after so many years in Serie A, I can't imagine Sassuolo not making the playoffs. I mean, they have a very good financial base. So although I think they're going to miss the comeback through the playoff, they're going to be among the protagonists of this upcoming Serie B season. Go ahead.
Well, fifth place, I put Sampdoria. I think, just they're my Genoa friends from La Lanterna podcast won't like me saying this, but I think just Sampdoria are just too big of a club to finish mid-table or below, and they'll make playoffs just given the amount of resources they have. I know they have a little bit of a financial situation now, but with Pirlo, with another season of him, they still have very good players. Uh, I I don't think it'll be enough be fighting for automatic promotion, but they'll put themselves in a good contenders to do fifth place and to go through the playoffs possibly. And
Got it.
fourth, I put Sassuolo. Like you said, I can see them, finish mid-table or even maybe in a position kind of where Spezia finished last season. But like you said, they just have a lot of resources, a lot of, financial backing. I think I read a report like a lot of some of their players, maybe not the star powers like Berardi or Loriente, will be staying, but they'll still have a good foundation of core players.
Right.
I don't think it'll be. I think they will have too many slip ups to finish in second or first. That's why I put them in fourth. So I still think they'll be a dangerous team to look out for.
We agree. Yeah, absolutely. So as far as third place, I place Sampdoria because I think that they're going to be fighting with the top two teams for the promotion. But last season they reached surprisingly, I must say, the playoffs because the playoffs. Sorry, because as they started, I didn't foresee Sampdoria ending in the playoff spot. But on the base of last season success, with Pirlo, I think they just signed up even Coda this year.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that Sampdoria will be fighting for a direct promotion until the end. They might not be as good as the top two teams, which I'm going to say at this point. I think Cremonese is going to finish second and Palermo will win the Serie B championship. Um, I think they're going to reach the third spot just like Venezia, and then they're going to be the team that gets promoted through the playoffs, even on the base that they did the playoffs this season as well. So they're getting just stronger and a better team, more consolidated, more experienced. And yeah, I think although there is this huge rivalry because there are two teams from Liguria, Sampdoria, and then, as you said, you mentioned even for Sassuolo, they have good backing financially. Sampdoria gets a lot of help. There are more ways of scoring points than on the pitch, and Sampdoria will always have that little push, I think. So, finishing up before I'll get to your predictions, so that since I mentioned Cremonese, I think that they simply want Serie A too bad. And if you want something badly enough, you'll find a way to get it. That's a quote from Jim Rohn, which I love. But they got close last season. I don't see them missing the target again this time around, basically. So the ownership is investing. I don't even know where all that money is coming from, but they are relentlessly investing. So I think it's going to pay off. As I said, Sampdoria and Cremonese will go up because of financial interest, I assume. So we'll see. And then Palermo, I think they have, as of today, then we'll see where the players are moving, coming from. Nicolao is going to Palermo. So they probably have one of the best squads. And yeah, not only they're reflecting good results, but yeah, if I have to bet on a team, and I never bet, Palermo is the one that's going to win this season. So please take it away.
That's this is a common thing we're seeing with my predictions and your predictions. Mostly the teams that are finishing higher typically have the more financial backing, and that's football for you. The more money you have, it's more likely. It should be more likely that that you finish higher. For third place, I will put Frosinone there. Viverini is a great pickup, and they're simply, I think gonna come back strong. They had a heartbreaking relegation, but they've been in the league. They know this position. I think they'll finish third, just missing out to second place Palermo. Like you said, they have Palermo's one of the biggest clubs in Italy. I don't know, maybe not with the terms of trophies, but massive fan base. Not only
Absolutely, throughout the world. Yeah.
yeah. Just they did their marketing, their jersey release in New York, actually, which was
I
pretty
didn't
cool.
know.
And yeah,
Nice.
with they're obviously backed by City Football Group, so they are
Right.
able to afford like a lot of things, and
Right.
they're.
Right. Right.
I just have a feeling that it'll be much better. I think they were a little bit disappointing last year because they had a good start, but I think they may have held on to Corini for too long, and
Hmm.
that ended up spilling into the playoffs. But I think they'll really come back strong this time. I don't know how if Brunori will stay because I heard Cremonese were interested in him, but with
I
with
think is a flag player. They're not gonna let him go. I
yeah.
think I assume. I don't know. I don't know. But if I
I
have to
agree,
say,
and, speaking of Cremonese, I put them as first place in the championship. Like you said, they were very close to last season. I thought, they obviously for me in my opinion, I said this last year that they probably had the strongest squad on paper with just the
mhm.
amounts of talent they had up front with Dennis Johnson, Coda, like you said, but I think he might be going to Sampdoria. We'll see. With Faletti up there, with just they have a really strong base and strong team. And with Stropa, he's probably going to be staying another year. He got Monza promoted a few years ago. I can't even remember anymore.
Mhm.
But Stropa, he knows how to get the teams promoted. So yeah, like you said, obviously another team that's really financially backed. So I think Cremonese, after narrowly missing out, they'll be going right back up to Serie A. So first place for champion for Cremonese.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm eager to see what people are going to think about our prediction potentially in the comments and to then look back at this recording at the end of the season. I'm
And
sure we'll have a lot of, we're going to laugh a lot about our predictions today.
guaranteed to be wrong. Let's just say because
Absolutely.
last
100%.
I did my predictions last season and I only got
Okay.
3 correct.
Huh.
So wasn't horrible, but definitely, we're definitely
It's
going to get
difficult.
many things wrong, and these are going to
Of
age very
course.
poorly.
Yeah, no, but that's the beauty of it. We're here to have fun. So whoever followed us, thank you for the time you've dedicated to today's content. And I don't know if you want to add anything else, Jake. Otherwise, we can wrap up this first episode of Speaking Serie B.
No, I mean, once again, thank you, Elia, for setting this up and having me. I'm really looking forward to this. Another year of Serie B. A lot of people ask, like, "Oh, well, aren't you tired of staying in Serie B and not wanting to go to Serie A for Cittadella?" And like, yeah, obviously, but at the same time, I really enjoy watching Serie B. I think there's a lot of really cool cities that aren't representing in Serie A, but are represented in Serie B. So that comes at a great away day experience for the team. But no, I'm really looking forward to talking more Serie B, and I'll probably have more updated and stronger predictions come towards
Yeah.
the closer end to the season.
All right. All right. Yeah. Probably this upcoming season, I'll be able to go back to Italy. So I can't wait to, follow the team on the trasferte, when they play away,
Yeah,
because
come to
as
the
you say,
Tombolato.
yeah, I
You
don't
should
even know when I'm going to be able to go back, but that's the plan. I don't know yet. But anyhow, guys, thank you very much again for the time you dedicated to our content today. We'll see you on the next one, which will probably be a live event to which you'll be able to participate through the chat directly.
actual live
And
because we're still setting up and we're still testing out.
right, right. So we'll probably do that right after the first round of games. But to make sure, stay tuned on our various social media, and we'll be able to let you know ahead of time when the live will take place. So to make sure you don't miss it, subscribe to the channel, to the channels, both of our channels on YouTube and not only. And together we'll be speaking Serie B.